Hey guys, welcome to This Week in Housing, October 13th. I'm Corey Shields.
I'm Michael Williams.
And as usual, we're going to run through some headlines, see what's going on in the real estate world. Michael, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. First things first. So, this article here says 17 questions to ask your realtor when buying your first home.
Sweet.
So we're gonna,
only 17.
Only 17. So we're going to run through it and see what we think about it. See what we think about these questions.
What's the first question you would ask your realtor?
Question number 1. What should I look for when touring a house?
Oh, okay. What should you look for? I guess the first thing is...
Does it suit your needs?
Yeah.
Like the layout. Just the obvious part.
The first question is not like, what should I look for when touring this house? Like the first question really is, hey, how can you help me, Mr. Realtor? Right? Like, how can you help me? Because that's one of the questions we're going to ask you, right? Like, we're going to say, okay, tell me what it is you need, right? Like, do you have a dog? Do you need a backyard that's fenced? Like, we're going to ask you probably 17 to 20 questions so that you'll know what to look for when you're touring the house, right? Does it have the hardwood floors that you want, or does it have that split bedroom design that you're looking for? So you'll know that if you do these steps properly, which is number 1, meet with your realtor at the office and talk to them about what your needs are, right?
Exactly. Moving on, what neighborhoods should I look in? The ones you like, I guess.
A lot of people make decisions on neighborhood dependent on where they work or what the school systems are. If you have children, like, those are the things that dominate our landscape around here, at least. In other areas, you may look for a certain neighborhood that has certain amenities. We don't have a lot of neighborhoods here, so builders, if you're listening or watching, please build us some neighborhoods with amenities like swim and tennis and those kinds of things.
Pretty please, yes.
Yes, dog parks would be great. Let's have a couple of those neighborhoods too.
Mm-hmm. How much are homes selling for in this neighborhood?
Oh, how much are homes selling for? So that's a good question, and that is something you should ask your realtor. But again, if your realtor did a good job in that first interview process where you're trying to figure out what home you're looking for, then you'll already know what typical homes like that one that you're looking at are selling for. So, I can tell you that in our market, the average price per square foot is $123 per square foot over the last 30 days. So in that instance, for an overall Whitfield and Murray County market, then now you've got a basis, right? What if it has nicer finishings? We're going to go up from there. If it's newer, we're going to go up from there. If it's old and needs a lot of work, it's going to go down. So that's a basis.
We'll combine these two. Why is this house for sale, and how long has it been on the market? People love that. People always want to know why somebody is selling their house.
I get asked the why are they selling question all the time. Yeah. And I'm like, well, because they don't want to live here anymore. Yeah.
That's all you need to know, essentially.
Right. I mean, there's a ton of reasons why people are selling, and frankly, like, I don't ever know when that's important. The why they're selling question is very rarely does it matter why they're selling, Sometimes it's a divorce, sometimes it's an estate sale, sometimes it's just they want to move up, sometimes they want to downsize.
And no matter what the reason, they're not just going to give it to you.
None of those lead to you getting a better deal, right? I mean, that question makes me laugh when I hear it.
Let's see. Same question is, what's the history of this house?
The history of the house.
It doesn't matter.
Wait, what list is this? Is this 17 questions you should never ask? What's the history of this house?
It says you should ask.
Oh, you should ask.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when was this written? 1986? Like today, what's the history of the house? Well, everywhere you go, it's going to tell you, it's built in 1973.
Yeah.
The Huggins lived here for 25 years, and then they sold it to the Smiths.
People like a good story, I think.
I guess so, yeah.
Do you see any problems with this house? That is a great question to ask your realtor.
That is a fantastic question. Your realtor ought to be telling you what they see, actually.
So this is a question that I'm getting asked several times a day currently because I'm trying to help someone.
Hold that question, because I want to expand on the last question. What do you see? So here's what we do when we show a house. So this might be a little different than the showings that you've been used to, right? So when I go show a house with a buyer, I unlock the door, I walk in, and I say, okay, here's how we're going to do this. You go look at the house. I'm going to go look at the house. And we're going to come back here at the end, and we're going to compare notes. I like for them to go see it on their own, I go see it on their own. That way they don't feel like I'm telling them, hey, here's the kitchen. Like, yeah, no joke, right? Yeah. Like, oh, the backyard is nice. Well, they can see the backyard on their own.
That's what they do on TLC, though.
That is what they do on TLC. It drives me nuts. So I like to go look at the house on my own, and it usually takes me 5 minutes, right? Like we've seen so many houses at this point that you and I can walk through a house and see all the things we need to see. Mm-hmm. So I like to do that, get out of their way, let them have it. Because then they may see some things on their own when I'm not just pointing out that, hey, there's a lot of storage here, right? So then we get back together and then I say, okay, what did y'all see? And then I'll tell them what I saw that is either good or bad about the house, right? Mm-hmm. And there are times when I say, look, the house is underpriced. It's worth every penny they're asking. And then there's sometimes I say, look, this house is in not great condition. Plan on spending a lot of money on these 5 or 6 items, right? So anyway, that's how I handle that question. Okay, on to the next.
And I think important with that question is viewing the house through the lens of, like the folks I was just talking about, they're trying to buy with FHA. So viewing it through the lens of, will this actually qualify for the loan that you're trying to use?
Yes, that's important.
Can be a struggle for sure. What concessions and contingencies do you recommend I include?
None. If you're competing against 11 offers and the price is $150,000, right? Like, I mean,
exactly.
It depends on the market, right? What contingencies should you include? Well, it depends on your personal situation, right? Like, that's a good question. I mean, I think that's a fair question, but it also depends on the overall process, right? Have you lost 11 homes already because we're trying to get an FHA loan and you could qualify for a conventional and you just chose not to? Well, then maybe we need to change that.
Or if the list agent says we're calling highest and best tomorrow,
we have 11 offers already.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need that 21-day due diligence period, right? Maybe we shrink that to 7 or 5 or 3. Okay. Yeah, good question, though. That's a good one.
Similar question. How much should I offer? Which is normally whatever they're asking. If you're lucky, maybe a little more.
It depends on the comps. I mean, some houses are overpriced, some are underpriced, some are priced well. So what typically happens in that scenario, we go show them 5, 6, 7 houses, and they start to get a general understanding of what the market's like. And then in the course of that, they find one they love. Like, oh, house number 7 is amazing. Okay, well, then we just run comps and spend 15 minutes looking at how this house compares to these other 4 or 5 homes. We congregate all that data and we say, okay, here's the data. The house is worth whatever, 200. You can offer 205 and have a better chance of winning, or you can offer 195 and hope you get a good deal. And if you don't be mad when you lose the house, right? Along those same lines, a great question that I get is, well, what's the other guy offering, right? Yeah. Like, I'll offer more than that other guy, right? So my answer to that is really what I think the secret is when it comes to buying a house. And I used it on myself a year and 3 months ago when I bought a house. And that is, at what price would you be relieved that the other guy won, right? Like, my example, house was listed at $219. I knew it was way underpriced. I saw value in it that apparently the appraiser didn't see, the HUD agent didn't see. And so I was willing to pay more, a lot more. So I ended up getting the house at $257. So I was willing to pay whatever that is, 35 grand over.
Is this Remington?
It is Remington, yeah. Okay. So I was willing to pay, $30-something thousand over, but that was based on if I had lost it. I actually offered $267, but we later found out some issues and we reduced the price to $257 is what I bought it for. So I was willing to pay $267, but I would have been relieved if somebody paid $268. Like, that was the number for me. If somebody was paid $268, they won. They deserve it. Good for them, right? So if you can get to that point of, I'm willing to pay $200, but at $201, I hope somebody else gets it. That's the magic. If you're in a multiple offer situation, that's the number you should offer.
Yeah. Solid advice, I would say. We'll go with this one as the last one. Can you recommend an inspector and appraiser?
Oh, trick question. Yes, I can recommend both. However, my appraisal recommendation means nothing. Unless you're paying cash, and then you can decide if you want an appraiser. If you're paying cash, typically you don't order an appraisal because you already know that it's worth what you're paying for it. If you're financing it, the appraisal recommendation is irrelevant because the bank will actually order the appraisal for you. So, inspection, yes, I can go ahead and give a shout out, a prior podcast guest, Tim Larkins. He is our go-to home inspector. And I don't think we talked about this on the podcast, but the way I met Tim is he actually cost me $10,000. I was flipping a house, and I was a mortgage broker back then, and I'd never met Tim, and we didn't get the home inspected when we bought it. We just basically flipped it. We put paint, flooring, countertops. It was just a very simple flip. Mm-hmm. So we put it under contract with, who was the agent? Carlos Salguero was the agent for Mission Realty. This was 2005, maybe 6. And got the home inspection, and Tim said, hey, there was a fire in the kitchen. Like, this needs to be corrected. And we had no idea there was a fire in the kitchen. Totally didn't know.
Like, what was he seeing to tell you that?
So the plugins, he checked the plugins to see if they worked, and they worked, but they gave him a messed up reading on the plugin. And so he's like, oh, something's wrong here. So then he started inspecting, went up in the attic, saw the charred rafters. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it was, there was an old fire, and it actually had messed up the wiring in the kitchen, and we didn't know it. And so Tim found it, and, we reduced our sale price by $10,000 in order to mitigate that for the buyer. Crazy. I had no idea that the house had caught on fire. We didn't get an inspection. This was...
Did the seller know, or...
Well, we were the sellers. We flipped it, right? Okay. So when we bought it, we didn't get a home inspection.
I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
That was before I was a realtor, before I knew better, right?
Okay.
Today, get a home inspection every time for sure. But in that one, we didn't get one. We put paint flooring in it, made it look pretty. It was beautiful. Did not know that the kitchen outlet was messed up. So anyway, it cost me $10,000. So that day I'm like, all right, Tim, let me have your number. Saved his number, have used him religiously ever since.
He's a good man.
Yep.
Good inspector. Moving on. So Zillow seems to think that prices are going to appreciate, or values are going to appreciate, about 11%. Goldman Sachs says, I think it was 16%.
Ooh. Is that 2022?
For 2022 on both of them, which I feel, that just sounds like a lot.
That does sound like a lot. As realtors, that would be great for us. We get paid on a percentage basis, right?
That is true.
That does seem high to me. I mean, it's certainly possible. I think that question gets answered with inventory. Do we get more inventory on the market, and all of a sudden, the supply demand kind of levels out, or do we have less inventory and it causes that increase that we just heard? 11% is pretty high, I would think.
Especially considering this year, it's been, or the past two. We've been
higher than that.
Like over 20, right?
There was a marker maybe 2 or 3 months ago when I did the math, and it was 22% increase year over year. Mm-hmm. So 11 would still be a really good year. It's certainly possible. I mean, I think on a prior show, I predicted 7 or 8%. That sound right to you? So double-digit increase again would be starting to get to an unaffordable mark for a lot of Whitfield County folks.
For sure, yeah.
I think another 11% in 1 year would be tough. Now, wage inflation is happening, so maybe that's where Goldman Sachs is getting the number. They think that wage inflation is real, and servers that were used to making $11 an hour are now making $19 an hour, and so they're just going to spend that money on higher rent and higher mortgage payments. So certainly possible. 11% seems high, though.
Right.
I'll take the under.
And on the note of, you mentioned inventory, home buyers can expect higher inventory, more choices this fall, Realtor.com finds. Which
when was that article written? This fall. Like, we're in the middle of it. So
October 11th.
Big prediction there. October 11th. We're in the middle of fall already. So higher inventory than the summer. Yes, I would agree. We have seen more inventory on the market, but we are still at, locally in our MLS, we're at 1.8 months of inventory on the market currently. So
more under contract still, right?
Yeah, a healthy market's 4 months worth of inventory. So higher than the absolute lowest we've ever seen. Sure. Out on a limb with that prediction. I would say that it's healthy for us to have more inventory. I would appreciate some more inventory.
Let's make since we're recording this, let's make a bet, and then we'll go back and see. So
I'm not shaving my head.
You don't have to do that. That's all right. Shave your beard.
I don't know.
Which one would you rather do?
Is there a fee I can pay to get out of it?
No.
Can I color it purple?
You can pay in hair.
Can I color the beard purple? Let's do that. What's the bet?
Good question. I forgot. No. I remember now.
Okay. Let's go.
When do you think it'll be that the numbers, the currently under contract, will no longer be exceeding the inventory?
Yeah, so currently under contract, we have 200 homes in the Dalton MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Active, we have 176. So there's a flip of 24 that needs to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So we need 12 more active listings and 12 less under contract. So, I mean, if you catch it in the right moment, that might be tomorrow. That might be 2 weeks from now.
Well, is that your answer? Your hair's on the line.
And it might not. Well, what's your bet? Like, where?
No, this is just you.
That's funny. All right. So I would say there will be a moment in March 2022 that we will have more active listings than under contract homes.
And you think it won't happen before then?
I don't think so. Okay. It won't stay that way for a 24-hour period. How about that? Like, there may be this moment where, some people put in the closed listings and they put in the active listings all at the same time, and then like there for that 2 hours. Yeah. But no, I'm gonna say March 2022.
All right. Well, we'll see.
All right. How about that?
Would you say you're shaving your beard or your hair? When you're wrong, because you will be wrong.
I will shave my leg hair.
Whatever. All right, fine. On that note, that is This Week in Housing. Thank you for watching. I'm Corey Shields.
Michael Williams.
See you next time.